Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat Podcast. We are here to talk about all things Tottenham. The transfer window is 12 days old. Spurs have already done a lot of business, a lot more than people expected, I'm sure. And of course, we will be previewing the Manchester United v Spurs game, which of course takes place on Sunday at Old Trafford in the Premier League. Now, we are live on X, Facebook and YouTube, so please do get involved. Give us your thoughts ahead of the Manchester United game and your thoughts on the transfer window so far. As per usual, I've got three very special guests. We've got a great lineup this evening. We've got Anthony Gazza King, co-host of the Same Old Spurs podcast. Gaz, great to have you here. How are you?
Good evening, gentlemen. It's great to be on the show, Chris.
Everyone's smiling and you're smiling as well. And, you know, there's a good feeling about Spurs at the moment. We've got actor Jamie Kenner back with us as well. Jamie, how are you?
I'm very well, Chris. Yeah, thanks. Lovely to be back, as always. Always happy on a Friday night to get a cup of tea and chat all things Spurs. So looking forward to it.
Well, great to have you here. And of course, we've got Andy Linden, great actor, Andy Linden back with us. Andy, how are you?
Oh, very peachy, guys. And it's great to be in the rose garden that is Tottenham Hotspur.
Well, when Andy's smiling, we know that everything is good. That is true. Gaz, let's start the show with you. I'm going to ask you very, very simply, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now? Because we are day 12. Of course, we're going to get into detail about the signings we've made, the players that have gone out the door, but your overall feeling about Spurs right now, because, of course, Ange Postecoglou came in the summer. At this stage of the season, 20 games gone, 18 to go. We're sitting 1 point away from top four, 6 points away from top. We seem to be getting transfer business done early, and everyone is smiling, as I keep saying. But how are you feeling?
I'm on cloud nine, mate. I think it's absolutely fantastic what's going on at the club. You've got to look at not just the ins, but the outs over the last 12 months, Chris.
Yeah.
Now, Tottenham were at a point where we was going, how are we going to shift some of these bodies? I think in the last 12 months, we've got rid of 7 players, all players surplus to requirements for me. And I just think everything seems to be going in the right direction. And it is down to one man, and it's that man who stands on the sideline, Ange Postecoglou. Just a catalyst and everything. It's not too often that you see two big players in Werner and a new lad coming in and picking Tottenham Hotspur over Manchester United, in Werner's case, and Bayern Munich. Things are changing. Tottenham are on the up. We've got a load of good players at the football club, more than a few. And I think we're building. And it will, over the next couple of windows, I can only see us getting even stronger, mate, to be honest.
Guys, what have you made of Spurs so far this season, the football we've played under Ange?
I thought we started off fantastically. I thought we found our rhythm. I thought he had his starting 11. I thought James Maddison was a catalyst and everything good that we were doing. The link up between him and Son, the two centre-halves were fantastic. The introduction of a Dougie at left back, the goalkeeper's been unbelievable. I could go on, Chris. But obviously it's been a little bit wobbly at times because we've had injuries, we've picked up suspensions. But to still be in the mix and only 6 points off the top, Christmas just gone, with obviously a window open that we've acted on and done business in quickly, it's fantastic. And like I think Tottenham are bang in the mix. I really, really do. But it's a big game on Sunday. I'm sure we get onto that.
In the mix for what?
The title. I'm telling you, like I know you laugh, and
we're 4 minutes in. I was going to go there actually, Gaz, later on in the show, but we're 4 minutes in. You've gone straight in there for it. We're in the title race.
But how can you say that we're not? You look at you look at our squad that we've got now. Look at the players that have left the club. Obviously, it's key that we get our best players back, injury free. People stay obviously clear of suspension, but we're only 6 points off the leaders. You look at Arsenal, where they're at the minute as a football club. Falling off a little bit. They're only 1 point ahead of us. So yeah, you've got to be confident, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? As a fan, you got to be confident. You've got to try and aim high. And I think Tottenham, look, we're in the mix, and we're in the mix for the top 4 at least. But can you go a little bit one further? I think stranger things have happened in football, mate. You know that.
Yeah, I don't want to get too carried away though, Gaz. Something's just telling me don't get too carried away. I'm very excited and I'm very happy. Don't get me wrong, but. Jamie, let's come to you. How are you feeling? And, what Gaz just said there about being in a title race. Do you believe we are?
Well, I should exchange my tea for whatever he's drinking because I'll have a little cup of that. No, listen, I mean, mathematically, and I think we're in it. But for me, compared to where I thought we would be, and I came on very early in the season to this podcast, and I was really optimistic, and I loved how we set up when we had a full fit squad and Maddison was doing his thing, and I was incredibly optimistic and just happy that we had a bit of identity, happy that we finally had a team we could buy into, but not only that, a team that looked like they were buying into themselves, having been through the dross that we've been through the last few seasons. Did I expect to be sitting here in January as optimistic? I don't know, but I'm pleasantly surprised by how optimistic I am, considering what he's had to deal with, injuries, like the depleted squad that we've had. I think the fact that we are still there and we are where we are, and we can seriously or not seriously talk about us being in the title race, I think it's incredible. And what a brilliant time, and how well deserved for us Spurs fans that have been through so much crap in the last few seasons. Yeah. So why not dream? Why not dream? But for me, I think I'd exchange an FA Cup win for anything. I've said that to you before. A day out of Wembley, lifting that trophy, just to give us fans and give those players and give that club what it deserves is some silverware. Shut the noisy neighbours up across the road, and we can finally move on. But if we finish in the top 4, look at what's just happened in that transfer market. We're being picked over, as Gaz has just said, we're being picked over Man United, more importantly Bayern Munich, I think, because there's one reason, and that's Ange. Everyone's buying into Big Ange. They're buying into the style of play. So if we get in the top 4 and we're in the Champions League, who's he going to be able to attract then? If he's already convincing these top European players to choose us over, with no European football, with nothing, with potentially not even qualifying for Europe next season if the wheels come off, he's selling them a dream and he's selling them a style of football that they're buying into. So imagine if he's gone, right, we are actually in the Champions League, we can offer this, then who's going to come? Because he's got that infectious personality. So for me, the future is very bright, I think, and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. And I'm so happy that this is my 3rd time or whatever on the show. And even though I was at the Burnley game and it was dire, and it's probably the worst that we've played all season, and it was, they were awful, Burnley, and I thought, oh no. But back in the day, we would have lost that 1-0. But, we dug deep, Pedro scored an absolute worldie, and on we march. So it's, the optimism remains, which is great.
And of course, we put the strongest possible 11 out that we haven't done under a manager for some time. So that was very pleasing to see. Andy, let's come to you. Of course, the last podcast you were on, Melvin was telling you that we were going to win the Premier League, and now Gaz is doing it. How are you feeling about it?
Gaz, I admire your confidence. Look, everything, as you guys have said, Jamie, Gaz, I agree completely. Everything is falling into place. We've got the manager. We've even got a chairman now that's seriously willing to put his hand in his very, very, very deep pockets, and which is good. And I think the chairman, I may have said this before, but I think he's learned a lesson here through the past. Yes, it's all going well. We're all highly delighted and wildly ecstatic as well, and with every justification. It is, and I am a little cautious. I've got a tenner at Ladbrokes, 500 to 1 that the squad will go down with long COVID.
It's worth more than a tenner, isn't it?
Well, 500 to 1, that'll do me. It's bound to happen. If it's only gate can happen, so can COVID. But joking apart, it's really good at the moment, guys, to be a Tottenham fan. The amount of people now, fans I'm seeing now with Tottenham, all the regalia on, walking around the high street. I mean, to me, that says it all. That is a pure sign that, things are looking up, and they are. Can we win the league? Look, it's not beyond the realms of possibility, but I think next season, with a few more buys, and I have to say, a lot of the buys, summer window was hugely successful, but next season, I think we really will challenge for the title. And who knows, a season or two more, and we will truly be the nuts.
Guys, let's come to you.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
So for me, here we are, January, like mid-January. Big Ange has come in with a hell of a task on his hands. You know, we're a massive club, and we want and we expect. When we've been hurt, we've had a couple of really dodgy relationships. He has been set tests all the way through since he's arrived, and he has passed them all with flying colours. And the transfer window is yet another one, because we didn't know how he was going to do in the transfer window when he's had a few months with the squad, and how's he going to. And he has not. What I love is he's not messed about. He's not gone. We're not linked with this player, that player. We've been linked with players. We got them. That's it. He doesn't mince his words. He doesn't mess about his press conferences. He believes in a style of football and he sticks to it. Even when we go down, we lose players, you know, and he said himself, if we go down to 5 men, we still have a go. So at every given turn, he's being tested and he's absolutely ripping up the test paper and moving on. So that's why we're optimistic. That's why we can talk about winning the league and all that. He's knocking it out of the park for me. Wherever we finish, whatever happens, he's come in and he is, you know, he's infectious. He's infectious. His desire, his absolute kind of bloody mindedness, if you will, of how he's going to play, how he's going to set up, and he's even conducting his business like that. I think it's so impressive.
He's ruthless. He's ruthless as well, isn't he, Jamie? He's not afraid to make calls. He'll make them. Yeah. You've seen already with Eric Dier and people like that. If you're not ready, if you can't play the way that he wants us to play, you're going to have to move on. Someone will play. That's how it is, and that's how it should be, and that's refreshing for Spurs and Spurs fans. Yeah,
and if you'd have said to me a couple of years, whenever Werner was at Chelsea, you can have Timo Werner, I'd have literally said you can absolutely keep him. But because Ange has gone in, and because Ange has gone, he's the man, I want him, I'm now really excited about having Timo Werner, because I'm suddenly going, I think I can see him turning into a player. He's quick, you know, he's got a little goal in him. I think he's a confidence player, but that pace, and he's going to suit the way that Ange wants to play. So for me, I buy into Ange's philosophy so much that if he goes to buy a player that I don't think's much or I've not rated, I'm going to rip show me, because I believe that he can get the best out of anyone. If he chooses you and you go, right, you are my man, I think he's that good a man manager. I think I'm really excited to see how Timo Werner gets on now.
Absolutely. I can even see him getting the winner at Man United on Sunday, but we'll come on to that.
You've been drinking the same thing I have, Chris, didn't you?
I reckon I have, and I think we're in the right place, actually, Gaz. So far, 12 days gone of the transfer window. Ange has said many times that he wanted business done early. Of course, we've got 2 players in, Timo Werner and Radu Dragusin. 6 players out, albeit that a few of them are development players. But Lloris, Dier, Phillips, Craig, Keeley, and Spence. Gaz, Timo Werner, when this story came out and it broke that Spurs were about to go in for Timo Werner, a loan from RB Leipzig, option to buy for around 17 million euros, he has come out and said, I'm here to win titles. What are your thoughts on Timo Werner? Because as Jamie said there, a lot of people, particularly other fans of other Premier League clubs, saying this is never going to work out. This is a terrible signing. But it seems a low risk, very clever signing to me. The fact that he's alone, he wants to play at the Euros in the summer. He's very, very hungry. We know that he can score goals. We know that he can assist. And most importantly, we know that he's a versatile player that Ange absolutely loves. He can play on the left, the right, through the middle. Your thoughts on Timo Werner?
I think Jamie touched on it perfectly there. I think if it weren't this manager in charge, you're probably going, would you have been excited if this was if he come in under Antonio Conte, for example? Probably not as much. I think this manager just well,
isn't that another thing, Gaz? The fact that he is making the decisions, because when you go, I know we could probably talk about Jed Spence, but when you think about Jed Spence club signing, he used that term so often. And Ange is picking the players. Isn't that a major change at the football club?
You've only got to look at the way that Tottenham have acted in this window already. Tottenham do business in the first couple of weeks.
Yeah,
it gets done on the last couple of days, the last hours. So obviously there's the big change there. He's gone in and insisted he wants things done early. As for Timo Werner, look, he's only 27 years of age, wants to go to the Euros, got a point to prove. You look at him already on the clips online. He looks like he's the type of character that will fit in with the group fantastically. I think Ange has already alluded to that. Look, if we look, he's got 95 goals, I think, in 159 games for Leipzig in his first spell. If you can get anywhere near that guy, you've got a top player. But look, he's got loads of pace. He can play in a number of positions, off the left, through the middle. Look, it's just a wild card. If he's no good after 6 months, you send him back. And I'm not being funny. You look at the fee that's touted around that we can get him for if he does do the business. What is it? 15 to 20 million pounds? Nothing for a player at this day and age. And look, I think it's a win-win for Tottenham, and I think he'll go straight into the team, Chris. We'll get onto that, I suppose, a little bit later, but I do really think he'll get slung straight in there at Old Trafford.
Yeah, really we are drinking this. We are drinking the same. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to remember as well. This is it for Werner. I mean, I know he's only 27, but if this doesn't go well, that's done. He's done for a big money move. He's done for a big European move. He's done in the national team. So he's got a load to prove. So Andrew's, it's a cracking bit of business. Absolute cracking bit of business. Like you say, Gaz says you can send him back if not, but I think he needs someone to put his arm around him. He's a confidence player. Also, well, I will say this: we are brilliant. Spurs historically are brilliant at signing players that everyone else wants and turning them crap. So it'd be quite nice to sign someone everyone thinks is crap and then turn them good. That'd be a nice little spin around for us.
Well, Jamie, I've been saying all week, if Timo Werner can be half as good as our last German striker, of course, Jurgen Klinsmann, we are in for some very, very special times. Andy, before we get your thoughts on Timo Werner, let's hear from Ange Postecoglou and on why he brought Timo Werner to the club.
Look, again, I thought it was just a real good opportunity for us. When it was presented to me, before the new year, that we kind of knew, particularly with Sonny going away for such a period of time, and we still felt we probably needed another player in the front third. And whilst centre back was a priority, if a good opportunity came, we wanted to move fairly quickly. And again, I had a good chat to Johan about it, and I thought Timo would be a really good fit for us stylistically. Certainly has the attributes we look for in a player in that space. He can play all three positions, which adds kind of some real depth for us and quality in the front third. And again, after I had a chat to him, he's really motivated. He really likes the opportunity that Tottenham can give him in terms of where he's at in his career, and I think he can add to us as a group.
Andy, Ange Postecoglou said there he thinks it's going to be a good fit in this team. Werner himself said, I thought straight away that it is the perfect fit. So they pretty much said exactly the same thing. Where do you think Werner does fit into this team? While Son's away, do you think he's going to come in on the left and start against Manchester United?
Now, first and foremost, I couldn't get the volume up on the laptop. And the problem there is that there was no subtitles. So
you didn't hear a word of it?
I lost that completely. For all I know, he's probably said, what have I gone and bought? What have I done? What have I gone and bought now? But no, I think Werner's got something to prove, as the guys are saying. Look, it's a free hit. I couldn't hear what he said at all, no. But as I say, it's a free hit. He's quick. One thing I will say about Ange is that he's got great man management skills. And he's brought players in that we've all had a little question mark over. Look how Royal's slightly improved. I mean, I know I'm veering off there a little bit, but when Royal came in, I don't know about you guys, but I was wildly gobsmacked, shocked really that we sent to buy all these terrible Brazilians. But look, he's really working out. I dare say Werner will. As I say, I'm being repetitive, but the guy's got something to prove. And look, if it doesn't work out, what have we lost? If it does, as Gaz is saying, you're looking at 14.5 mil. What can he bring? Well, we can play wide, and you've all talked about the versatility. And I do believe he could have a goal. He could have a goal in him. He scored in the Champions League, if memory serves me right. So, look, I just feel at the moment, everything that Ange does seems to work. And I'm just hoping he don't get an hamstring.
Yeah. Gaz, let's come to you on the position of Timo Werner. Of course, we know he can be versatile, but for this game against Manchester United, I know we'll talk about it later on, but you've already said you expect him to come in. Yeah. On the left-hand side, do you think that he will play the majority of the time at Spurs on the left-hand side?
Not necessarily, because I think Richarlison needs to shape up a little bit as well. Because I think he's too reliant on service that has to be laid on a plate to him. So he needs to shape up. Because look, I think Werner will start off the left at the weekend because the Celso's picked up a hamstring injury. So you'd probably see Kulusevski used in the 10 with Brennan Johnson off the right with Richarlison and Werner. I don't like Richarlison off the left. Personally, I don't think that's worked in the past. So I prefer to see him through the middle. And then there'll probably be two behind them, whether it be Bentancur and Hojbjerg or Bentancur and Skip. But yeah, fully expect him to start off the left. He's going to have a bundle of pace. He's going to be a real problem for Manchester United. And hopefully Spurs can feed him the ball every opportunity, because I think he'll be chomping at the bit to prove a point. I think the team really picks itself at the weekend, Chris. You think about it, the people that are available. We've got so many players to come back. You think of it, all the captains are not there at the weekend.
Yep.
Don, the vice captain in Romero and Maddison. So we've got so many options to come back. And I still think that's a really, really strong team that's going to go up there. It'll just be interesting to see who plays at centre halves. But I'm sure you'll probably get onto that as well, Chris.
Gaz, you mentioned Richarlison there. Are you fully on board with Richarlison now? 5 goals in his last 5 Premier League games. No. Do you think he's turned a corner?
No. I think that Richarlison, if you put it in an area to him and he can get himself in the right position, he can nick you a goal. But I just don't think his all-round play is good enough for Tottenham. If Tottenham want to kick on, that's an area that they'll look at again, in my opinion. Look, a forward's judged on goals, but when he's not scoring goals, you're immediately going to look at the other play in his game. And I just think that there's not too much of it. You never really see him around the edge of the box, little give and go, bend one in the top corner. Not his type of game. But I just think that if Spurs want to improve down the road, then that's one of the areas that they're going to be looking at, mate, for sure.
Jamie, this come to you, of course. Radu Dragusin has been announced. Is expected to go straight into the squad for the Manchester United game on Sunday. 30 million euros plus 5 million euros add-ons from Genoa, 6-year deal until 2030. And just finally got his man. This is the guy that he wanted. And what I love about Ange is the fact that he FaceTimes and calls these players and, finds out about their personality. It's all about personality for him. It's funny because it seems such a simple, basic thing to do, but a lot of managers don't do the basics like this. But of course, he's got his man that he wanted, Dragusin. Your thoughts on the signing?
I think, well, I mean, as with anything, it remains to be seen. But I'll go back to what I said about the signing of Werner, and even more so with this guy. I mean, look at Van der Ven. Van der Ven. There was a problem. I'm not saying no one had heard of him, and I'm not saying that no one was interested, but no one was beating down the door. We didn't beat off Bayern Munich's and Real Madrid's and all that. And look at what we've signed, and what a hole he's left. So in Ange we trust. So if Bayern Munich are coming in and trying to sabotage this deal, he's a player. He's look at his stats from Serie A. He's right at the top of the table for headed chances, for clearances, for recovery tackles, all of that. He's right up there in all of those stat tables. So, there has been another centre half of a top knot that's played for another club that's looked pretty good. So why can't we have our one? So I think really exciting. It's perfect timing. Van der Ven coming back. Romero's still out. Davis getting injured. I think he'll go straight in. I think he should go straight in. He's obviously been playing. He's fit. So why not? Massive game. That's what he signed for us for massive games. He looks confident. So yeah, it's exciting. Like I said, whoever Ange signs, for me, he hasn't messed about. This is, like I said, it's another test for him, this transfer market, and there's no panic. And going back to what Andy said about Royale, I thought we panicked bought Pedro Porro, and I was not having him, I have to say. But the turnaround in Pedro Porro under this manager, it's another example of him making what I thought was a panic buy because Conte was trying to spend a bit of money or divert attention, whatever he was doing. And you got a guy who can go forward, but absolutely awful at defending. I mean, it was shocking. His first few games, I was like, what has happened here? And now look at him. Now look at what Ange has done with him, putting an arm around him, giving him the license to go and play the way he plays. So whoever he signs, I'm gonna back and I'm gonna be excited about.
Jamie, what have you made of Radu Dragusin's agent and the comments that he's been coming out with, particularly on, he wants Barcelona and he wants Real Madrid, and he said this even before it was announced by Spurs that he'd signed for us.
Well, and what's interesting is no figures have been published, but I was thinking about that, and he's come out publicly, his agent, and gone, we were shocked that he turned down Bayern to go to Spurs. Yeah. Now, if an agent is saying that, because in my line of work, and Andy will back me up, your agents are trying to push you towards the jobs that pay you the most money, because that's how they get their money. And you're trying to go, well, no, I want to go and do this play because I love the play. And they're like, yeah, but, you could do these 3 lines in a TV series and earn 4 times the amount of money. But for us to get him over Bayern and his agent to be kicking off, I believe then that's not about money, which then makes me even more assured that he's come to us because he's bought into what Ange has told him, and Ange believes in what he can do with us. So that fills me with more excitement than we just nicked him off Bayern because we paid more money, or we've given him a bigger signing bonus, or we bought him a house somewhere. He's come to us because he's bought into what Big Ange has said to him through his FaceTimes or however he does it. He's like an old school, like Sunday morning park manager. Come play for me, and it's infectious, and that's what he's done, and that proved it. The fact that his agent's got the ump because he's not got an extra 10-20% by him going to Bayern because he's playing in the Champions League. No, this kid's gone, no, that's where I want to go. I'm going to go to Spurs because I see us being there. So it's massive credit. And to Levy as well. I guess you got to, and I think Andy's right that Levy's obviously learned from mistakes and trying to paper over the cracks by getting these marquee managers, which I don't think any of us ever wanted. I certainly didn't. And he's gone, all right, but now he's gone, I'm going to back you because we've got something special. So, I think it's all, everything's clicking and ticking. It's nice to see. Refreshing.
A couple of you now have mentioned Daniel Levy. Andy, let's come to you on this one, because when you look on social media, normally the chairman and the hierarchy at Tottenham are being heavily slated for what they haven't done or what they have done. But this last week or so, particularly since we've signed Radu Dragusin, there have been a lot of praise for Daniel Levy and the hierarchy and the way that we have conducted ourselves in the 2 transfer windows so far under Postecoglou. What do you think has changed in the background? Because of course there has been a number of personnel changes, and I know you guys have already said it's a massive change that Ange Postecoglou's in, but it can't all be down to him. It must be a collective, surely.
Absolutely. Look, yes, there has been this sort of civil war on social media regarding Enoch and Daniel Levy, and the reason for that, I think, is you've only got to look at the history. I do, I'm not a Levy or Enoch fan, but I recognise who they are, what they are, and they're going nowhere. We're talking as we are now, which is great. This great warm feeling, this lovely peachy cloud of optimism. We were there with Poch. Well,
that took time.
When we finished runners-up in 2018, I do believe it was 7 points, unbeaten at home, effing unheard of. 4 games, we lost 4 games that season. The end of the season, when we should have consolidated, we bought 1 player, Sanchez. Within 2 or 3 seasons, as you full well know, we went 2 transfer windows without buying anyone. Not only did it stop us, it set us back a few seasons. I'm just echoing what fans were saying.
Yeah.
But I, as I said earlier on, I think Levy has learnt his lesson. I'd like to think that anyway. And he's brought in, Munn and 1 or 2 others. Full credit to him for bringing Ange in as well. It's down to him. Full credit for him and Munn, again, sorting out that deal. They were up till 3:00 in the morning, apparently.
Yeah.
But I'll allude to Jamie about Dragusin. I just feel that the kid has got, it seems to me the kid has got integrity. Because as Jamie was saying, an agent, their idea is, as Jamie has said, get you the biggest deal possible. You know, the bigger the deal, the bigger the cut the agent gets. But he wasn't going to have any of that. He said, no, I want Tottenham, and he's decided that his football development will be at Spurs. And that is to be admired, and that is a rarity. So, yeah, well, look, Levy's doing the right thing at the moment, and long may it continue.
Gaz, is the exciting thing for you the fact that Ange is getting exactly what he wants so early on in the transfer window? Because it just seems that the excitement is because everything seems to be coming together at once. And are you surprised that it has happened so quickly with Postecoglou here? You know, he's only been here 6-7 months, and so much has changed.
I think that you've only got to look at the brand of football and where the fans are as well. That if the chairman's got to pay attention to that, do you know what I mean? And he will be paying attention to that. Things are going in the right direction. Tottenham needed to bring in reinforcements, by the way. Like, well, you can't keep slinging out Royale and Ben Davies as a partnership and sort of hoping that everything's going to work out in your favour. So fair play to Tottenham. They have acted. It's an area that Tottenham needed to go in again for some time now, really, strengthening that centre half. And now you're looking at it, and we've got 3 top draw centre halves in Dragusin, Romero, Van der Ven. And it's fantastic, mate. And look, you keep hearing little murmurs about the midfield area. They're looking to add in that area because you're looking at Hojbjerg. He obviously wants out. He's been going on that. It's been dragging on a little while, that one, isn't it? Whether he's going to leave or not. So I wouldn't be surprised if something happened in that area before the end of the window as well. Not at all.
Guys, just on Radu Dragusin, how pleased are you that Spurs actually got this one over the line? Because there was a little bit of a scare that the fact that Bayern Munich did come in, they offered more money, they eventually rejected it. But, you know, to show real intent about what Ange is trying to do and what we're trying to do as a football club to move forward, how much, you know, of a signing do you think this is? Like how great it is? Because, and also when all 3 of them are fit, who are the chosen 2?
I think only time will tell in that one. What I do think that's fantastic for Tottenham is the amount of money that we're paying for players. Charlton and Dembele, which are in the 60 millions. You're picking up left backs for 20 million. The goalkeeper for 17 million pounds. The goalkeeper, it's unbelievable. You're looking at 30 million in this centre half. What could he be worth in a couple of years if he kicks on? So I think the money that we're spending on the players is fantastic. It's the right amount. But look, yeah, it's for me. I'm a massive fan of Romero. I think when he's at it, there's not too many that get close to him. It's interesting today because he gets a lot of stick, but he's picked up. You look at someone like Virgil van Dijk, who people rave about as being this and that. He's got the same amount of red cards as Virgil van Dijk this season, and he's committed exactly the same amount of fouls. But Romero's looked at as an absolute villain, which he's obviously got a bit of nastiness this game, but no one really talks about that in Van Dijk. But that's just a side thing. But for me, when Romero's at it, there's no one better than him for me. But he's got to be consistent and he's got to be more reliable on the pitch because Tottenham need him. And you can't keep going down to 10 men in games. Be interesting to see whether that vulnerability he's got in his game he can sort of eradicate because there's no doubt he's a top player there, mate. World Cup winner, isn't he?
Absolutely. Jamie, let's come to you. Before we do, we're just going to hear from Ange Postecoglou again. Andy, you'll be absolutely delighted. This clip has got subtitles, so if you can't hear it, you'll be able to read it. He talks about the board and everyone at the club, including himself, all being aligned.
It's easier said than done because whilst we may have a desire to do things early, you know, you've got to have all parties agreeing to that, you know, clubs and players, and it's not easy to do, particularly in January. But I think the key thing for us was, you know, from the chairman to, as I said, Johan, his team, Scott, myself, we're all very aligned in, you know, what we wanted to do, and we got our targets early, and then so it wasn't a matter of sort of chasing down too many things. It was pretty clear what we were trying to do, and if it didn't happen, then we'd move on. But I think the fact that we're all sort of aligned and really clear on sort of what our objectives were allowed us to, sort of be sitting here now with 2 players in, which is great. Not so much for Sunday, but we know we've got a 2-week break, which means, we get at least a couple of weeks working with the lads to get them up to speed, and then hopefully by then we get some of the injured blokes back, and a couple of weeks later we'll get the international guys back, and hopefully that means we're in good shape because we brought the lads in early.
Jamie, being aligned and having good recruitment at the football club now, do you think the Spurs will bring in any more before the end of Jan?
Was that a question for me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think there's a panic. I don't think we're going to, if the players that he wants aren't available, or players that he doesn't see fit are available, I don't think he'd go out and go, okay, we'll just get them and bring them in. So, but I wouldn't be surprised. And as Gaz said, you may be in that midfield area, maybe possibly another defender, maybe. I don't know. I mean, that being said, we've loaned out a few. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we do a little bit more business. If it's there. I mean, they're still talking about Gallagher, aren't they? That's still being mooted. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I think that's. But again, it depends on price. It depends on.
Not a fan.
I'm with you on that. I'm with him on that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. He doesn't set my world alight. I don't think he's someone that we're like. It's weird. Timo Werner. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm excited about him being with us, which is bizarre. But I can see how he fits. I can see what he's going to bring. I can see Ange looking at him going, you know what? I can work with this kid. He's got loads of attributes, and we can really utilise his attributes. I don't know where, especially if Maddison's fit. I don't really see what. I mean, Gallagher's obviously decent, but I don't think he's. I mean, Chelsea are not doing well. He's not, he's not tearing it up, is he? They loaned him out. I just don't think he's someone we particularly need. If the price is right and we can get a deal of a century, then yeah, maybe he's a half decent player. But look at what's happened to Mason Mount going to United, and I don't really see it. So I don't think that's going to be one that we're going to absolutely bust our gut to get over the line, like the Dragusin one, where he's obviously got his man. We desperately need a top quality centre half. As Gaz said, I think he looks like he's someone could literally turn into a 60-80 million pound centre half in the space of a few months. I don't see that with Gallagher. So yeah, I mean, in answer to your question, I wouldn't be surprised if we do any more business, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we didn't.
Chris, do you mind if I just ask one question?
Go on.
Just in that subject, in the midfield area there, obviously
Yeah.
We've got players that are out with the 2 lads away at the AFCON in Basuma and Sarr. Where are you at with Hojbjerg or Skip? Now, obviously, Hojbjerg looks like he wants to leave the club. But Skip seems to be getting a nod at the minute in games. He played, obviously, the last game. Like, for me, it has to be Hojbjerg over Skip at the minute. But that's where are we at? And is that just me, or is that
no? I had a row with someone I literally had a row with someone at the bar at the Burnley game about this very subject. I think Skip's. I think Skip's. He's a clubman. He'd win Clubman of the Year if it was the under-12s. I think he loves the club. He'd come on, do a job, but no. He's not got enough quality, and I think Hojbjerg, although Hojbjerg has got his faults, and people will question him, but out of the 2, he brings that little bit more. Yeah, that little bit more bite, the little bit he uses the ball a little bit better. His recovery is better, and I don't think either of them are the long-term answer. But if you're choosing out of the 2, for me, Hojbjerg all day long.
Yeah, I'm agreeing.
I think when you look at when Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg walks down the tunnel at the end of a game, everyone's celebrating a win, and he is the first one down the tunnel on his own. After every home game, or even after every away game, I put a video out of the players coming over to the fans and the players walking off the pitch and down the tunnel. And Hojbjerg, it is so obvious, Gaz, he does not want to be there. He wants to move away. Whether that's anything to do with it, it just looks like his body language is completely different to everybody else's, and it looks like that everybody else is celebrating. And the only 2 players that didn't ever celebrate with the rest of the team and looked very awkward was Eric Dier, who of course has gone out the door, and Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. So that's probably why Oliver Skipp is probably getting nod, because Oliver Skipp is Tottenham through and through. You know, I remember watching him as a 17-year-old playing in the under 23s at the time. I know it's under 21s now, but it was under 23s. He was the best player on the pitch by a mile, and some of these other guys were 6 years older than him. Obviously, we're talking about Spurs moving forward. You know, what Ange Postecoglou does in the future is another thing. And I agree with what you've said about, you know, perhaps them two players are not the future, and perhaps they will go out the door at some point. But, you know, we're only in the second transfer window. And I think personally, if Spurs are going to do any more business, it will be a centre midfielder, with Hojbjerg then possibly going out the door probably in the last week of the window. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because Crystal Palace are interested now in Oliver Skipp, but I think Spurs are quite reluctant at the moment to let him either go out on loan or a permanent deal. But, you know, come the summer, I think that the situation again at the football club will be assessed, reviewed, and we'll be sitting here smiling again because we've probably done a lot more business and let a few more players go out the door. But I think it's just one step at a time. But the Man United game, I do actually expect Skipp to play. Are we still drinking the same drink, Gaz?
For me, I'd be disappointed. I'd be disappointed if I saw him play there. And I know what you're talking about, Hojbjerg, with maybe obviously the way he's conducted himself off the pitch. He wants out, head down the tunnel. But he hasn't shown a lack of professionalism on the pitch.
I agree. Yeah.
And that is what matters, Chris. And I'm looking at the two at the minute. I'm looking at the two at the minute, and I'm going, who would I rather play up at Old Trafford?
But I think it's very. But I think it's very, very important, and this is exactly the same situation with Dier. When you've got a player that it's quite obvious that they don't want to be there, are they buying in to what the manager wants? I completely agree with you about the professionalism. Every time Hojbjerg has been called upon, he's done a job. He's done an exceptional job for Ange. But when someone doesn't want to be there, do you continue using them?
If they're performing on the pitch, I would say so, yeah. And I think at the minute he's doing that. We all know he's not the answer. Jamie's touched on it. He's not the future. We've got two lads at the AFCON who are in front of him when they come back. But if you're picking a team now and off reset, it's not just the way that where he's at. It's the performance levels of Oliver Skipp. There's no doubt he's shot in confidence at the minute. Like he's not playing well with any. He's not playing well at all. So if I had to pick one or the other, it'd have to be Hojbjerg. But I think you're right, Chris. I think because of the reasons you've touched on, Skipp will play up at Old Trafford. I really do think that.
Yeah. Andy, let's come to you because, of course, Eric Dier's gone out the door to Bayern Munich. Many people are quite surprised by this move. Somehow that, you know, Ange didn't want him at Tottenham and somehow he got some game time because of that game against Chelsea, injuries, suspensions and so on. But somehow he's got to move to Bayern Munich and, you know, we'll probably see him lift a trophy or two at the end of the season. What do you make of this move for him?
I think it's probably a good move for him. You know, I think he's going to have some company there. Somebody else who can speak English. So, yeah, he'll have his Kane will be there. You know, so that'll be good. They'll tell him what's a favourite banger and all that. And I do like a sausage, the German. I like something phallic. But so, yeah, that, look, Dier, I think it's fine. Look, you know, like you were talking, you were all talking about Skipp. Dier was a club man. I mean, you know, again, he gave his all. I always thought he had somewhat of a limited game, really. His distribution wasn't great. He didn't always read the game, and he had this habit of switching off. Could ball watch rather than track players. But he could do well out there, or he may just be a squad player. Yeah, look, we've unloaded him. Regarding Hojbjerg and Skipp, well, I think you're right. Skipp will play. I saw him as a youngster and was impressed. Remember going away to Crystal Palace when we got beat. I mean, an 18-year-old kid. Dier at the time, who was captain, was hiding. This kid wanted to show all the time. And I like that about him. I actually think he had that long injury and he's never been the same since. But I look at, as a mate of mine's a Southampton fan, and Hojbjerg, good player, gets stuck in, he can pick a pocket. He's another one, though. His distribution leaves a lot to be desired. Will he go at the end of this month? I don't know. All I do know regarding midfielders at the moment, we can't afford to lose anyone. We're at the bare bones at the moment. Unless we bring one in, I don't see us selling anything. Although I don't know about Gallagher, but aren't we looking at kids for the future, young defensive midfield players at the minute for... I've been reading, but regarding
there's a couple, yeah, Walton and Hackney, yeah.
Walton, the boy from Blackburn, another lad from Plymouth. What I like about it, we are creating a young team or young squad.
Yeah,
I mean, we've got in this centre half. We've got Dorrington and Phillips, 2 18-year-olds. We've got a 16-year-old Croatian kid who they're raving about. So I think our centre half position, anyway, looks as though we're going to be sewn up for the next 8 years.
Yeah, that's another exciting point, actually. Yeah, Gaz, let's come to you. Let me give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about Eric Dier and Jed Spence. Of course, has gone out the door as well. He's gone to Genoa on loan. They've got an option to buy him. Of course, he's had a very difficult time, Jed Spence. His attitude and professionalism hasn't been that great. Daniel Farke, of course, sent him back to Tottenham from Leeds, having spent the first half of this season on loan. Eric Dier, of course, has gone out the door. My best memory of Eric Dier is probably when he made his debut at Upton Park, scoring in the very dying seconds in a 1-0 win. That was some years ago. Of course, he has been a good servant to the club. Many people have been frustrating with him in the last couple of years, it's very fair to say. Lots of tributes. I think there's been actually more tributes about Eric Dier than Harry Kane. Incredible.
Yeah, look, I think that Eric Dier he had a decent little run in the Spurs team early on. I do think he was fortunate that he played with a lot of top players around him. And I think you find that with Harry Winks as well. Like they played in times where you got Moussa Dembele and Eriksen in front and Dele Alli on fire and Kane, other players, and then the insurance policy behind them in say Vertonghen and Alderweireld, and that does matter. It does matter. Obviously, he's moved positions a lot. He started off as a holding midfield player and then got moved to a centre half. But he probably should have left the football club 4 years ago, Chris. He's been hanging on there, and sort of managers have thrown their out on him. I think Mourinho liked him.
They all liked him.
He's just not good enough, mate. The game's moved on. You've got to be able to run. You've got to be able to recover. You've got to play out from the back, and it's just moved on very, very quickly, the game. But he has been a good servant for Spurs. He's played in teams that have been really, really good. He's been fortunate enough for that, and for that you have to give him a little bit of praise and his props. But I think it was time for him to move on. And for Tottenham Hotspur to get what they paid for him in £4 million is unbelievable, really. I think we probably have to thank Harry Kane for that a little bit, to be honest.
Well, he's got to make those appearances for us to get any money, because it's a loan, but it's seen as a zero fee. But Spurs will get money more appearances he makes, so that's going to be an interesting one. But it will certainly be interesting to see players like that if they lift trophies at the end of the season, because we've been without trophies for so long. But we are going places, and hopefully our trophies will be coming very, very soon. Jamie, did you want to, before we move on to the Man United games, do you want to add any more on Eric Dier?
Yes, I went to see that play, the Dier England, the other day. The one about Southgate's, when Southgate first took over. And they have I don't know if you've seen it, but they have a section where there's not the whole squad, but some of the squad, the main sort of players of the squad come through and they say their name and their club. And you forget how many Spurs players are in that England side. And Dier being one of the first names on the team sheet, because of that versatility where he could play at the back, he could play in the middle of the park. And then you think, and it was just making me go, oh my God, like where's he gone? But yeah, I agree with Gaz. He should have gone some years ago. And talking about the difference, the reason Dier, and you know, his video, it was interesting. I was watching his departure video saying thanks to everyone at Spurs and thanks to all that. You know, I mean, I didn't get through the whole video. Whereas with Harry Kane's, me and my 7-year-old son were in floods of tears. Yeah. And I'm still not over it now. Like, you know, it's the worst breakup letter I've ever read. and I'm one divorce under my belt. But anyway, but yeah, Dier, I feel, and we're talking about Hojbjerg being unhappy, disgruntled, he's not in the side. When he walks over that line and he's wearing that shirt, he would run through walls, absolutely run through walls and put shift in. Dier just sulked far too many times to me. He let his head go down, and I feel, not intentionally maybe, but he did let us down on a number of occasions. And I think that's because his head wasn't right and he wasn't able to do what Hojbjerg does, puff his chest out, get on with it, and then walk back to the dressing room and have a sulk in there. So I lost a bit of love for Dier, and good luck to him. Good luck to him. I don't think he's going to play that much, if I'm honest. I think he's down the pecking order, possibly even further over there. So he's relying on a few injuries and maybe suspensions and stuff. But I'm sure Harry Kane had a little something to say in that deal and get it over the line. And it's probably a similar thing for him. It's a no lose, isn't it? He'd probably have a few run outs in the Champions League. If he gets a run and he does well, it might put his value back up, and he gets a bigger move somewhere. I don't know. So good luck to him. Thanks for everything, and leave his Spurs shirt at home.
Jamie, also just on Jed Spence, because of course he's gone on loan. So again, it's another opportunity for him, but he's got to grab the opportunity, because otherwise we're going to end up with Jed Spence coming back to Spurs, which is probably not the ideal situation and probably not what Spurs want.
I've got a mate of mine who's in Middlesbrough. He does a podcast with Middlesbrough, massive Middlesbrough fan. And when we signed him, he was like, he's just trouble. He's just trouble. He's absolute quality, but he's trouble. And, he was like, maybe you'll get better out of him. But yeah, what's interesting for me is that he's gone out on loan again.
Yeah.
He's got this reputation, and this reputation is obviously justified, but there's obviously something in him that means we haven't just binned him off, because they must feel that there's, he's a hell of a player from what I gather, with unbelievable potential. But I mean, if we're at this stage and he's been sent home from a loan at Leeds, where he should be going and tearing it up, if he wants to really feature in our squad, the way we're going and the way we're attacking, you look at the players in front of him, I don't know. It's disappointing. It's really disappointing, because he's got a big opportunity with a club that's moving up and forwards to get his head down, tear it up in the Championship, and come back and do a job. But we'll see. But I'm not holding out a lot of hope that it's gonna work out.
Andy, on Jed Spence, it's obvious that Spurs want to offload him because they've given Genoa an option to buy. How confident are you that he's going to grab this opportunity and Spurs do offload him? Because another player, it's very clear that Ange Postecoglou doesn't want at the club. I think, it's very clear and evident when Ange doesn't want you. You're not in the team, you're not in the starting 11, and you're not really part of the squad. And even during pre-season, he was a player that was training separately.
Well, to echo what Jamie was saying, I did hear through the grapevine that Neil Warnock fell out with him and wanted him, if I'm right. Now, there's a fella up there, he's come to us. He got farmed out. What was a French club? He got farmed out there.
Rennes.
Gone to Leeds. The Leeds manager has been somewhat diplomatic. He didn't want to, sort of sledgehammerly castigate him. But I have heard, yes, he's got a bad attitude. Also, apparently, I hear that he's not very prompt for training. He's one of these, he's very loose, comes in late. And well, Ange is not going to suffer that. And why would he? He's not going to suffer that. If you start, peeing him about, then that's you gone. Ange comes across as very stoic, and as you see on your interviews, he does. And he's a very good man management. But I can imagine if you seriously pee him off, that's you out the door. And he's obviously, and you've seen something there, hasn't he? I actually think Spence, there's a player in there somewhere. I don't know, a couple of seasons back, I see him play against the Arsenal. And he had Martinelli in his pocket completely. Matched him for strength, speed, and he's no slouch, Martinelli, but he had him in his pocket all day long. But there is a player there, but I'm sorry, but is he going to make it at Genoa? Who knows? And, you know, I don't mean to be disparaging, but do we really care?
Well, I wonder, Andy, if Andrew had a FaceTime call or a telephone call with Jed Spence, you know, upon signing him, do you think the phone would have gone dead?
Immediately, yeah. I did. Well, it probably, yeah. Chances are Spence would have got to the phone call, got to the phone 5 or 6 minutes late. Who knows, you know, and then who knows, you know. But look, somewhere in there is a good player, but as Jamie said, alluded to, we've got youngsters coming through now, and if he ain't going to wise up,
yeah,
why would the manager even have second thoughts?
Yeah. Right, Manchester United on Sunday. Gaz, let's come to you. Let's have a look at the Premier League table. Spurs are currently 5th, played 20, won 12, drawn 3, lost 5, a goal difference of plus 13. We have 39 points. We're only 6 points away from Liverpool, who are leaders at the moment with 45 points. We're only a point away from top 4. Manchester United are down in 8th. They've played 20. They've been so inconsistent. They win in 1 week, they're losing the next. They've won 10. They've only drawn 1, which was a 0-0 draw against Liverpool, where a number of their fan base were actually celebrating a 0-0 draw. That's how they have fallen so much. They've lost 9. They've got a goal difference of -5. They've got 31 points. They are 9 points away from top 4, and they are 14 points away from Liverpool. What have you made of Manchester United so far, Gaz, this season? Because they do seem to have problems off the pitch. You know, a number of their fans are not happy with the way that the club is being run. Their stadium has got leaks. The defence has got leaks. Even their food hygiene rating is 1 out of 5. You know, lots of things are going wrong on and off the pitch. What have you made of Manchester United?
I think Manchester United, look, you only got to look at the stats. They've lost 4 out of 10 games at home. They've only scored 20 goals in the Premier League. There's only 2 teams below them that have scored less, and they're the 2 bottom teams in the Premier League. So it's obviously not firing for them. They've had loads of problems with Sancho, off the field stuff. The manager, is he good enough? Bruno Fernandes, is he a captain material? That's created a load of a load of talk, whether it be on TalkSport, wherever it might be. And I think it's a game that Tottenham can really fancy themselves going into, but it's also a fixture. The last time that Spurs won, that got the double over Man United in any season, was 1989-90 season. So look, if we can pull out the points, it'd be fantastic, mate. But we'll see. I think Manchester United, they're always going to be a difficult task. We've gone up there with some top teams, some top players, and still found a way of losing. So where I'm at is go to Old Trafford and don't get beat. You can't come away from there without picking up anything, and that's got to be key in that game for me.
Guys, their last couple of results, they beat Aston Villa 3-2 at home, despite being 2-0 down. And then their last Premier League game, they lost away at Nottingham Forest 2-1. Now, I had a guest on from the United stand, Beth Tucker, a great guest yesterday, Manchester United fan, and she said that most Manchester United fans felt that when they were 2-0 down at home against Villa, they would come back and win that game because Aston Villa play this high line and it suited Manchester United's style and the way that they wanted to play the game. And they were confident they were going to get the win. And of course they did. Now, when you have a result and a performance like that of coming back from behind, I think a number of Man United fans have felt at this stage or certain stage of the season, like we're back, you know, we're going to, you know, find some consistency during the season and now kick on. They haven't found that. What have you made of Erik ten Hag's style and the way that he's conducted himself since being Manchester United manager?
Well, if you only got to look at the top pundits, and it's almost like they haven't got no real pattern of play. They haven't got a way of playing at the minute. They don't seem to have that in their game. You look at it, you hark back to the Liverpool result. They picked up a point and they thought that was going to be the turning point in their season. So, look, there's loads of question marks at that football club. You've touched on a few, whether it be off the field, on the field. It's still going to be a tough game, Chris, for me. I really do think it's going to be a tough game. Do you?
It will be a tough game. Manchester United is a tough place to go, but are we thinking about Manchester United of old? Because it just seems to be so different, Gaz. Like, you go back a few weeks, they lost 3-0 at home to Bournemouth. That was people seem to be very surprised by some of these results. But, when you look at their performances and you look at some of the quality of their players, it's very different to what we're used to seeing under Alex Ferguson, where they've won trophy after trophy. And we're so used to seeing Manchester United win quite often, and they've gone through a pretty tough time. So many different managers. You look at their defence of, say, Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire. Is that a good enough defence for a team like Manchester United?
I don't know how Johnny Evans is still playing football, but yeah, he still is. There's a cut there. I think they're due a couple back potentially at the weekend. Maguire might be back. Luke Shaw might be back for him. So they'll be stronger. They'll be stronger in that department. You touched on that 2-0 result when they were at 2-0. We all know, though, you watch football. 2-0 is one of them results that if you get one and the crowd start to get the lift, you can get two. How many games is that goes up? That goes on all up and down the country. It's such a dodgy result, that 2-0, because you go up and you get egg back for 2-1. You naturally start sitting back deeper. So I won't look too much into that Aston Villa turnaround for them. Look, you're never going to get Manchester United at a better time. You're never going to get Manchester United at a better time for me. They're in turmoil. They're miles off us. They're miles off the title race, and that's where they want to be. This is Man United. So turn up there at Old Trafford on Sunday, fully apply yourself. There'll be great camaraderie within our group. It's the complete opposite, probably within their group. Especially Jadon Sancho, and I touched him. He's left this week, so you get a few of them in that dressing room saying they've lost one of their mates this week. Do they agree with their manager? Question mark. So yeah, it's a game we're looking forward to, and it's a game that I think Spurs players should be looking forward to as well.
Jamie, what have you made of United this season with their inconsistency? Because, speaking to Beth last night, a big Manchester United fan, and of course, massive channel, the United stand, she thought that Manchester United would be up there competing for the Premier League title this season. And as Gaz said there, they are way off.
Well, yeah, I mean, towards the end of last season, obviously, Ten Hag, he looked like everything had turned around and they were going to go back to where they were. It's quite enjoyable for me because obviously I haven't been in Corrie for a few years. I'm in a WhatsApp group with Alan Housel and Andy Wyman, and in fact that WhatsApp group used to be called "Should Have Got Conte" because they went through a series of really shit managers, and we had Conte, and I thought he was the answer. But
has it changed now to "Should Have Got Ange"?
Should have got Big Ange. Yeah, I've changed it. Yeah, it seems. You would not have expected them to be where they are now, and I just look at a team that is completely disenfranchised. They've got no identity. There seems to be a toxicity within the group. For me, that leads from Fernandes. I think he's obviously a very talented footballer, but he's painful to watch. He's painful to see. I don't think he leads by example. I think you've got Rashford, who looks like he's about to burst into tears at any moment. I just don't. They just look completely separate. So yes, okay, 2-0 down against Villa, and they get a little bit bored because they've got great attacking. They've got a lot of pace. You've got Nacho's in a bit of form, but there's no consistency in that. That's like look at the way they celebrated that back in the days when when they were 2-0 down and they win 3-2, almost like they expected it. And I think the key thing for us is to go there on Sunday. Is in Fergie's days, that was a proper fortress, and that team and those fans never ever thought they were beaten. So if you're 2-0 up against Man United at Old Trafford, they still think they're going to win it. I think now those fans, and I've been in that stadium a lot, they will turn now. And if we can dig our heels in, maybe go a goal up or get to 1-1, whatever, and they're not playing and they're not firing, those fans will turn, and that fortress then starts to work in our favour because their players start to get on edge. They start to give the ball away, and we've seen it. They've done it time and time again this season, where they start to make mistakes. And look, even Richarlison can outrun and outdo Johnny Evans. Christ, they should have bought Eric Dier. That's a bizarre one. But I'm confident. I'm think I'm really excited that Werner's going to be like a greyhound out the gates. Dragusin, I think, will play. I think Van der Ven coming back, that's like having a new signing. He's got the pace. And I like the way he held Van der Ven back against Burnley. He didn't give him 10 minutes, so he's giving him another week just to get himself bedded in, get a bit more training. So yeah, I'm confident. I think it's gonna be tight, but I think we're gonna nick it, and I do think we're gonna nick it 2-1. I think it's gonna be 1-1 for a bit. They might go up, we'll get a goal back, and then I think we'll nick it 2-1.
Jamie, when you mention leaders there, who are the leaders in that Manchester United squad and team right now?
I mean, exactly. I don't think you could tell. I don't think you can actually say, because even the players that you think are going to lead, that should be leading, Maguire, I know he's been out, but they're not, because they're so lacking in confidence, and they're so. You look at them compared to us, compared to what our vision is, the way we set up. It's very, very clear what the message is to those players, how we're going to play. You know, it's really clear that everyone is on the same page. You look at that United team, and I think Ten Hag, he's the change in his demeanour from when he came in, sort of confident, almost brash Dutch manager who's in confidence, buying into what he's doing, and now he just looks like he's got a bit of Mourinho about him now. He just moans and groans and sort of blames other people and has a bit of a bitch and a moan about the officials and this, that, and the other, and VAR, and but there isn't. I don't think there is a leader. And Fernandes, oh my God. You get those players where people go, yeah, but you'd love him in your team. Absolutely not.
Well,
for all his quality, I would absolutely.
Can I ask, would any of these Manchester United players, would they get into the Spurs starting 11?
I probably, right now, I might take Garnacho. Possibly. But I don't think so. Nah.
You couldn't argue against that call, Jamie, because he has got a bit about him, to be fair.
Yeah, he's got a bit about him.
He does probably fit the profile as well. Young, he's got a bit of an attitude. So yeah, you could definitely make an argument for that.
And it's his goals for me. It's his finishing. It's clinical, really clinical. And I think Johnson. I was really excited about Johnson. The jury's out a little bit for me now. I've seen him. I think his final ball he's got a little bit of Aaron Lennon about him. He's quick. He gets in the right areas, but his final ball and his clinical nature, I think against Burnley, that's the sort of game he should have absolutely torn that apart. And but give it time. But yeah, I've probably gone Garnacho. Other than that, no.
Does our manager get a bit more out of Rashford?
I mean, yeah, possibly.
Yeah,
I mean, no, 100%, definitely. And I think, would I take Rashford right now over what we've got and where we're going? I don't think I would.
You get on the bench.
Yeah, maybe. I'd get Fernandes and I'd just make him cut the oranges, and then I'd tell him to piss off, and I'd just leave. Yeah, absolutely can't stand him. Anyway.
Well,
but just to add to that, I am slightly worried because I was at the home game and we should have been about 2-0 down. Fernandes missed that header, if you remember.
Yeah.
In the opening, whatever it was, 10, 15 minutes. And how he missed it, I don't know. So I'm a little bit, mildly concerned that might come back to bite us on the arse. But I'm staying positive.
Yeah, do you know what? I feel so positive about every Spurs game right now because that we're going to give it a go. A certain style that we're playing. That Ange is at the helm, and that we're going to give absolutely everything in these matches. Team news ahead of this game. Ben Davies is now out for between 4 and 5 weeks. Lo Celso is out with a similar problem. Ange said it was complicated. Dane Scarlett is now out for this game. Maddison, Solomon and Perisic all remain out. Son, of course, is away with the Asian Cup. Soren Basuma with AFCON. Romero is back training, but this game is going to come too soon. Team news for Manchester United. Martinez is now training. Casemiro's training. Shaw is training. So they are all in contention for Sunday. Eriksen has been ill a week, says Erik Ten Hag. Anthony is back. Maguire is available. Onana, really strange decision. I'm going to come to you on this one, Andy. With Onana, they wanted to keep him for the Wigan FA Cup game. They're keeping him for the Spurs game, which is really, really strange because he's then flying off to the AFCON and literally playing hours after this match rather than use their other goalkeeper. What on earth? Why do you think this is? Because in some ways, and I hope this doesn't come back to bite me, in some ways I think this is actually an advantage for Spurs with Onana playing.
It could well be. I mean, it's amazing that and he got that dispensation to play. I thought he would have been off by now. I can't really answer that unless their reserve keeper's got one arm. I really don't know. Look, he hasn't had a great season. He was great in Holland. He was. And I thought highly of him, but I really don't know, guys. Sorry, I can't answer that. All I can say with United at the moment, that is a seriously fractured club.
Yeah.
As you guys were saying, look, at the moment, they are shapeless. I also think, although Ten Hag had a great first season there, I mean, some of the buys are suspect. There's got to be a stewards there. I just don't get so. Don't you think some of the buys have been appalling?
Yeah.
I think he seems to have turned top really good players. Martinez, Casemiro. I know Casemiro's knocking on a bit.
Exactly.
Those players were like unbelievable. If you'd have asked me this question last season, I'd have gone Martinez, Casemiro.
Yeah.
I could have named you 4 or 5 that I'd have taken.
No,
now, not even a year on, going, maybe one, maybe young kid. This young kid Garnacho.
I like the Argentinian lad, as you pointed out. I think he's got something to offer, but I really think their transfer policy has been dreadful. And as I say, look, they aren't a fractured club. You sense that the dressing room is fractured as well. It's not just Sancho that wants out. I just get the impression that so many of the squad do. Rashford is not the player he once was. How are we going to do there Sunday? As Gaz was saying, look, that is a really difficult place to go. Even when we're on form, we find a way to not win. But as Gaz said, and you all that really, I think this is a great opportunity for us to nick something. Going back to the keeper, I really don't know. They can't have any faith in the reserve keeper then. I really, no idea.
Just to follow up on more team news for Manchester United, Martial is out, Lindelof is out, Mount is out, and Amrabat, of course, is away with Morocco. Gaz, before I get your thoughts on the lineup, let's hear from Erik ten Hag. He is full of praise for Spurs and Ange Postecoglou this season.
Oh, it's definitely different. So I think it's a really big compliment the way they played. So he changed the environment there. They play really proactive. It's very enjoyable to watch them with a lot of dynamics. Very proactive. And they combine it with good results. But also when we play them over there, and I think that is what we can take. We can take belief out of that. That in the first, I would say, especially 35 minutes, we dominate them, and we should have go in the lead, but we didn't, and so we have to make our own luck, and we have to take control of the game, and then we have to finish the chances.
Gaz, what do you make of Erik ten Hag's comments there about the previous game? Of course, we beat them 2-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Angie's first Premier League game in charge at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
I'll be honest with you, Chris, I didn't really get it didn't come through too well, so it might be a better question for one of the other lads on this occasion. Didn't come
Jamie,
through.
Did you hear that okay?
I heard it. He just looks so sad. He just looks so sad. He's like, so what was the question? I was waiting for you guys to answer.
Sorry.
I was just looking at him just going, poor bloke.
Just about the previous meeting, we beat them 2-0, of course, earlier on in the season, and I think that's when probably Manchester United fans thought, "Oh, we're not going to be challenging for the title this season." With you mentioned Fernandes, you mentioned that miss. He said that they controlled the game for the first 35 minutes or so. What did you make of that previous meeting at Spurs?
Yeah, I mean they did. That's what I said. They did, and we rode our luck, and they probably did dominate us for 35 minutes, if not most of the majority of the first half. But how many times have we done that before in the past? You can't go on about it. You haven't taken the chances. You've missed open goals, and we've then gone and capitalised on it. So that's the way it is. And that comes from we've got a manager that will keep having a go. So even if they had taken their chances, we might still be sitting here going, we beat them 3-2. So, you can't. That's what I mean about his demeanour. I can't see Ange sitting there talking the next time we play Fulham about moaning and groaning about the League Cup game, where we only got some penalties and he didn't. But I don't think he do that. I don't think he's going to dwell on, oh yeah, well we were unlucky and we dominated. I think he deals with what's in front of him, and that's what Ten Hag. That's the fact that he's referring to that and kind of making excuses. Pretty much saying if they'd have taken their chance in the first 35 minutes, they'd have put us to bed. You don't want to be hearing that sort of stuff from a manager going into this game. And I know in that same press conference, he started going on about being a manager and being a player for a club like Man United is different to any other team in the world, and it brings different pressure and all that. And you're just going, that's not the right message. That's not a message of longevity for me. That's a man who's disgruntled, who's a bit lost, who's getting pressure from this, that, and the other. You got a new owner coming in. That club is in disarray, and thankfully we've got a chairman that I'm not his biggest fan, but on this podcast we've all kind of tipped our hat and gone in the same way that I wasn't a Pedro Porro fan and I now am. I will give credit where credit's due, and Daniel Levy has learned from his mistakes, it seems, and pulled one out of the bag. So yeah, but that's the opposite of what's happening at Man United, it seems.
Can I just ask you, before we look at the predicted lineup and get your thoughts on the lineup, your favourite memory of this fixture, Spurs Man United, either at Old Trafford, White Hart Lane, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? Andy, let's start with you, because I would say my favourite memory of this fixture is probably that last day at White Hart Lane, an incredible day that was, of course, for the football club, and of course we finished with a win. There has been a lot of special moments in this fixture. What's yours?
Well, I was working in tragically, but special. Two really. I remember going up to Old Trafford. Chibber's got two on his debut, I do believe. That 68. Reading back the years. Dier also was up there that night in the FA Cup where he got the winner. That was great. And I do believe it was a League Cup. Hoddle got just a superb volley. I think we won 2-1. The volley was just, he hit it in midair, how he shaped himself. Yeah, I'll name those three.
We've in Premier League, in the Premier League era since '92, we've only won at Old Trafford 4 times. Gaz, there was a 6-1 win, of course, during COVID up there under Jose, when people thought that we were going to win the Premier League. And I can think about a 3-0 win. Lucas Moura getting a couple of goals. That was a good night up there. What's your favourite memories?
You've just done it, mate. The one in COVID was something special. For Spurs to go and smash Manchester United like that up there, fans or no fans, was just unbelievable. Sergio Aurier scoring goals, doing the reel away. I remember it well. Can I go with when we were 3-0 up at White Hart Lane before we got beat 5-3 and Beckham scored?
I wasn't even going to go there.
But yeah, that one.
Wow.
That one really does stand out in the memory for me when I was younger. Couldn't believe that game. But yeah, it'd have to be that one in COVID, mate, because it was just something surreal. And it was even more special at the time that Mourinho went back there and done the business against his old team.
Do you know, I hope if Spurs are 1-0 down at half time at United on Sunday, I hope Ange goes in there and says, come on, guys, this is United. You know, let's get them back after those comments of Alex Ferguson all those times. Oh, come on, guys, this is Spurs. Jamie, what's your favourite memory of this fixture?
Yeah, I've just been thinking. I've got a few bad ones.
There's too many.
Yeah, I remember, I was trying to think of the year, but I think Gary Lineker scored his best ever goal. I was at Old Trafford. And he cuts in from the left-hand side and curls one in the top corner. It was the last game of the season. I think we lost the game, but it was the best goal I'd ever seen Lineker score for us. Outside the box as well. I don't know if you remember it. But I think my favourite memory was at White Hart Lane. It was the League Cup quarter-final. Must have been 90... I'm going to say 99. And we were 2-1 up. Going in, it was like the 93rd minute. I had a bet to say we would win 2-1. Chris Armstrong scored the first goal, and we were 2-1 up. Armstrong scores the first goal, and I'm sitting there going, I mean, I think I was a student at the time, so I would have won about 50p, but I was delighted. And Ginola puts one down, a free kick on the edge of the box, and bends it in the top right-hand corner. And I didn't know whether to go absolutely mental or whether to cry because I'd lost the bet. But it was such an unbelievable, because that was peak United. There was some big players in that United side. That was title winning United. That was Europe. That was Champions League winning United, and we turned them over at the lane to march on in the cup. So that was spectacular, absolutely spectacular. That's probably my favourite, I'd say, even though I lost the bet.
Yeah, it's always been a good fixture, this United Spurs. Yeah. Let's come on to the lineup. This is my predicted lineup here. Vicario in goal, the back four of Udogie, Van de Ven, Dragusin, Porro. In the middle, Skip, Bentancur, Kulusevski. And then the forward three of Werner, Richarlison and Johnson. Gaz, I want to come to you first on this. Is this what you were thinking?
Spot on. I think that's what I was thinking. I think we touched on it. I think the team near enough picked itself with players that we've got out. The only one that and again, we've already touched on this subject, is Oliver Skip. I'd prefer to see Hojbjerg in there, but for reasons that you've touched on, it's probably going to be Oliver Skip that gets the gig. And there's enough players on that football pitch to cause damage against Manchester United. And you've got a back line there, a right back and left back are on form. Two centre halves there would be chomping at the bit. New partnership struck up, get off to a good partnership early. I think we've got a good chance up there because I think we can really nullify them with especially with that Dragusin coming in. But it'd only be that Hojbjerg one for Skip for me, but that'd be about it, Chris. I think you called it right.
Gaz, would you be surprised if Werner and Dragusin did not start in this match?
Well, it'd be interesting whether he goes with Royale, but I think that this guy's come into play. It isn't like he's not been playing for Gino. Yep. He's been playing games. He's been playing every week. He's fit as a fiddle, straight in. And the manager's shown confidence in him. And I think he has to go in, Chris. He has to go in. Like there's no better and bigger test. And the player, listen to him. And by the way, what was refreshing to hear how good his English is. That is a massive plus coming in from there because there's no guarantees. And he'll come in immediately. The communication between him and Van de Ven will be good. And I fully expect him to start. As I said, this manager makes big calls. And I think both of them will start Old Trafford for sure.
And of course, Dragusin knows Bentancur and Kulusevski from his days at Juventus. So, yeah, it's all positive. Jamie, that lineup I put out there, I know Gaz has obviously said about Hojbjerg or Skip. Do you think that is the lineup Postecoglou will go with, or do you think he'll try something different?
I think I absolutely echo what Gaz says. I would play Hojbjerg instead of Skip at Old Trafford. I think that's a game made for Hojbjerg. I think he can do the dirty work in the middle and have that little bit extra quality, I think, over Skip. But I think Skip will play. I could possibly see. I would pick that team with Hojbjerg. I agree with that side. I think Werner 100% starts and plays. Mm-hmm. I think my question mark will be over Dragusin purely because if Van de Ven had been back fit and playing, then I would say Dragusin comes in. But you're effectively starting two new centre halves. Van de Ven hasn't had any game time for quite a while. So he's technically coming in. It's a new partnership. You could look at it as a little bit risky. So we might stick with Royale alongside Van der Ven. I think Van der Ven definitely starts, but it's who he plays alongside. I think personally, the Dragusin looks confident. He'll have a couple of days to look at him in training. So yeah, I think he should chuck him in because. But yeah, that's the only question mark I would have. And if Van der Ven had played the last couple of games, it would be a no-brainer. Dragusin comes in alongside him, but I just think that's the only question he might have in his head.
The thing is, though, Jamie, I completely agree with Gaz. Like, Dragusin's been playing every single game for Genoa, so he's fully fit. He's raring to go. He's very, very hungry. Ange absolutely loves him, wants him at the football club. Surely he's going to start.
Yeah, I mean, I think he should. And Ange makes big calls, as we've said. But equally, I don't think Ange is going to be, if you flip that and play devil's advocate, he's not going to be pressured by the fact that he's just paid money for this kid and he's brought him in. He's going to do what is right, regardless. So he's not bothered about upsetting people. He's not bothered about, I think he'll start? Yes. Do I think Van der Ven and Dragusin will play? 100%. But I'm just saying, the only question mark I would have is you're bringing a player that's been on the injury list for a while, hasn't had no game time, and a player, yes, he's been playing first team football, but not in the Premier League, not at Old Trafford, not live on Sky on a Sunday. Like, this is different. And that's why he's come here, because he wants to play bigger football. This is Tottenham Hotspur. So I think but I think he'll play. I'm just throwing an option out there that he might rest him.
Jamie, also with Kulusevski in that central role, what do you make of him in the central role rather than being out on the right?
He cuts into the central role anyway, doesn't he? So he always ends up in there before he does anything. By the time he's coming off the wide, but yeah, I love him. I think you could put him anywhere. He'll do a job. He's such a club player. He puts in such a shift. He never stops working, even when he's not having a great game or when he's going through a dip in form, which we've seen. So yeah, I think it's ideal to put him in there. Johnson, I think, needs a big game on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
He really needs to step it up because I can see he's a confidence player, and I don't want that confidence to start draining out of him a little bit. And I think the Spurs fans at the moment, we're in such good spirits. We're willing to back everyone. Richarlison is a great is evidence of that we're all still behind him, even though he's annoying. And I just want Johnson. I think he needs to now have a couple of big performances, and Old Trafford is a but yeah, Kulu's going to do a great job in there. I think he's a handful. His work rate, his strength. There's an argument to say maybe he's better in there. I don't know, remains to be seen, but he's not going to be in there for long. But I think he does a really good job for us.
Yeah, it seems very exciting when you look at that lineup and how many players we've got coming back as well. That's why I'm feeling very, very excited about this team and this squad and where we're going.
About that side, and what? Yes, obviously we attack and we want to go forward, but it's strong physically. We're strong, and you're going away to places like Old Trafford. You've got half a chance if you've got strong physical players who can mix it up a bit, who get involved, who don't roll over. You've got half a chance anywhere.
Andy, your thoughts on that lineup? Would you change anything?
Not really, no. Maybe I would just edge Hojbjerg above Skip. I get what Jamie's saying, the whole newness of should we say, the centre-half double act. But as you guys have said, look, I know I'm repeating myself, I'm just paraphrasing you guys, but he's fit. Dragusin is fit. He's been playing all season. Mm-hmm. What I've seen of him, and admittedly they're only reels, this kid's a beast.
No one gets past him.
He's 6'3", he's great in the air. He's got that upper body development,
Well, you have been watching.
He's got a little bit of pace as well. We're playing a whole.
What sites have you been on?
and yeah, his English, as Gaz has pointed out, his English is good. It's better than Paul Merson's. So yes, I would play that side, and again, I'm going over ground that Jamie has, but yeah, Johnson at the moment, he is a good player. I just feel that diffidence has sunk in a little with him at a minute. He's slightly frightened to take players on. He's actually a good crosser of the ball, but I think he's going to need time, the kid. Yeah, I like the lineup. I think we can cause some serious problems. And, you know, yes, I want to see Drăgușin play with Van der Ven. I think they're two young lads, strong, relatively quick. And as Gazette was saying there, well, look, I think we've got enough in that side to worry them.
Right. Well, let's now hear from former Manchester United player Paul Parker. Of course, played for United between 1991 and 1996. Premier League winner twice with Manchester United, winning the FA Cup and the League Cup as well. He's kindly given us his thoughts on Manchester United this season, Spurs this season, and the transfer window.
Hi, Chris, and everyone at the Spurs Chat Podcast. It's Paul Parker, and I've been asked to talk about the upcoming fixture on the 14th of Jan of Manchester United v Spurs, which is a big game on paper, to be honest. Manchester United v Spurs or Spurs v Manchester United. People seem to enjoy those games. The fixture always gives a little buzz, and it certainly does to me, being maybe a little bit of a Spurs supporter while I was growing up here in Essex. But anyway, the questions what I'm going to answer are obviously regarding that game and what centres around it. So my thoughts on this season of United anyway, as you might gather, has been sheer disappointment. Having to talk about him is hard work, having to listen about him and having to watch him is seriously hard work, and it hasn't been enjoyable. But the one thing being Manchester United, everyone is interested in when things are going well, and just as much when things are going bad, and they're bad because what's going on in the field has been disappointing, which is an understatement. But when we talk about Spurs and their season so far, you know, it's been ups. Have there really been downs? I don't think there's been that many downs. I think everyone's enjoying the football they're playing. They're loving the manager they've got. He's just got everything, which I think everyone just loves about him compared to the previous two managers. And for me, the previous two managers are always the wrong managers to manage at Spurs. They're both destroyers. Spurs just love creativity, and that's what Ange gives Spurs. And when you talk about the two managers, I think you have to say Ten Hag. I'd like him to be given time. He's not made it easy for himself with a lot of the supporters, but given how many managers Manchester United have had since 2013, is changing him now going to make a difference? Not really. You look at the position Manchester United are in, as bad as they've been playing, they could go and win 3 games and a bout, and all of a sudden they could be in the top 4 the way the league is this season, because you have to say, if you're a neutral, it's a fantastic league because of what's going on. You know, and all the different bits, people losing, and we even talk about Liverpool. Everyone's looking at them and want to make them cast iron. They're not cast iron. They're not that good as maybe they have been in previous seasons. But maybe it's the others catching up. But it's still good to watch. And when we talk about what Spurs need, Spurs at the moment just need a little bit more strength in depth. But given that, who am I to say that when what Spurs have gone and done? When you look at their league position now, I think at this moment they're 2 points off of Arsenal, and Arsenal were supposedly having a great season until they got beat by West Ham. And Spurs, everyone's talking about the injuries to Maddison and the centre half, Van der Ven? They're talking about him, but Spurs have carried on. Yes, they've lost some games, they've conceded some goals, but Spurs fans have got a smile on their face, and they're winning games even when they've conceded maybe poor goals. So Spurs, what they need maybe really is just, as I said before, just a backup, stronger backup. But we hope, maybe Spurs will do something in January. I think they should do. Maybe just to see if they can push on from there with maybe the centre-half coming back and Maddison as well, and just get a little bit more competition, and you never know what could happen to Spurs' season. I still believe it'll be positive for them. Manchester United, too long a saga. Midfield still needs work now. It's too old, too laboured, no creativity, lacking any fire, no discipline in the midfield. It's all over the place. They need wide players. They desperately, for me, need a right and left wide player. If you can have two who are going to give you opportunities, and Manchester United haven't got that. The wide players don't make enough opportunities for the man in the middle. Become very selfish, I would say, in certain ways as wide players. But anyway, thank you very much for asking me to do this, and all the best to Spurs for the rest of the season, and I mean that.
Jamie, let's come to you. You said that earlier about Erik ten Hag looking sad. Of course, a former player, won the Premier League twice with Manchester United, Paul Parker. Talking about Manchester United there, and then saying about Spurs, you never know what's going to happen. It must be quite painful, a player to win trophies at Man United, talking like that about his old club.
Yeah, and I think you see it with obviously the others like Gary Neville. It is really, really hard. We know, like, we're Spurs fans. We know probably more than they do, and maybe we're a bit more used to it. But yeah, because I think you look at that last team that Fergie won the league with. He had no right to win anything with that team, and if you'd have given that team to any of the managers that followed him, God knows where they'd have ended up. But he created such a belief and spirit in that club. And like we have got now, what we're talking about, that flow, and Angie's talking about the link between upstairs and dugout, and that sort of harmony. I don't want to get carried away because it's still early days, but the way it's going now, that's what they had. Fergie had such a handle on transfers. He made massive decisions. He's getting rid of Jaap Stam. Do you remember? I'll never forget when he got rid of Jaap Stam. Jaap Stam probably the best centre half in the world at the time, in his peak, not dipping off, but Jaap Stam annoyed him, so boom, he was out the door. Selling points at that time, selling those big players, getting rid of those players, and also equally having players that left that club and you realise how average they were. Your Wes Browns, John O'Shea, all of these guys who won Park Ji-sung. He picked Park Ji-sung in all those massive Champions League games. He never missed a Champions League. Darren Fletcher never missed a Champions League game. Park Ji-sung goes to QPR, then he goes somewhere else, and he's not the same player. So you've gone from that to this invincible team that were never ever beaten. Fergie time is a whole invention named after a manager. That's the kind of influence. Yeah. So you've gone there, and you are not even in the same league. And no sign of it coming back. Not even a Liverpool. When Liverpool fell from grace a little bit, and they went to Souness and they tried, signing Neil Ruddock and Julian Dix and all these. There was still Liverpool there. They still had little moments. They still, it was still Liverpool. The fans were still there. This Man United thing is just in free fall. Radcliffe hopefully is going to come in and, for their sake, make things changes. But I just can't see it. They've just completely lost their way.
Jamie, you've already given the score prediction 2-1 Spurs. I'm also agreeing with you, 2-1 Spurs. I'm going to go for an 87th minute Werner winner, and then running over to the away end, which I really do hope that I witness that at Old Trafford on Sunday. I'm really looking forward to the game, but I do expect Spurs to win this game. I know you've said 2-1. Gaz, let's get your score prediction.
I'm going to go 3-1 Tottenham.
Very confident.
Yeah, I think that Spurs have got enough tools to go and beat Man United on Sunday. And I think that with the manager and everything that's going on off the pitch, and can you imagine that training ground this week, building up to a big game, full of confidence. Confidence is so key in football. And I think that we can go there and get a job done. And I really do think that. Yeah, and I think the goal that they get will be a consolation as well in the game.
Andy, what are you going with?
I'm going to agree with you, Chris. 2-1. My heart says 2-1. My brain's saying something else. But let's try and be positive.
What's your betting coupon going to be saying?
No, I'll never bet Tottenham. I don't bet Tottenham. I watched that. I can't. The Paul Parker thing was it was borderline suicidal. I reckon I'll have had odds on that 2-3 to 1 after that interview. He'd gone to see his psychiatrist or therapist. It was oh dear, it was, yeah, I'm surprised I never heard a big bang go up under the desk. It was I felt for him there, but yeah, 2-1. I'll show you
what football does to us all, eh? And I've just seen, Andy, you're opening up the beers already because this podcast has gone on far too long.
Well, no, actually, silly as this may sound, because I have a heart condition, but this is actually a non-alcoholic lager, and it's all psychological. You know, when I'm out with friends now, I've got to have. I can't have proper stuff, so I've got to go on the phony stuff.
Well, Andy, thank you so much for joining us again on this podcast. It's been an absolute delight having you here. Where can people find you and what you're up to in the acting world right now?
Yeah, well, late spring I'll do Baxter versus the Bookies, my own show about an ailing, fluctuating fortunes of an ailing horse racing tipster. I don't know if any of you are interested in horse racing. It's a sport that I love. Not as much as football or or Tottenham. But yeah, I'll be doing that late spring in the summer. And I'll put it out on social media and we'll see who comes.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Always a pleasure. And Jamie, thank you so much for coming back. You're going to be back on with us very soon. Tell everyone where they can find you and what you've been up to and what you've got coming up in the future.
Well, you can find me on Instagram somewhere if they can be bothered. But yeah, so lots going on. Had a busy year. I've got an announce, so I can now say that I'm in the new season of House of the Dragon, which is coming out this coming summer. And I'm going back to do a bit on that because there's some reshoots because the strikes massively affected it. They couldn't rewrite anything, couldn't do anything. So there's a few tweaks and stuff that are going to be doing on that. So that's coming up in the next month. Something else very exciting is hopefully bubbling away, which I can't say too much about, but you will be the first to know, Chris, obviously, if it comes off. Yeah, and that's it. And other than that, you can find me smiling at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which I haven't been able to say for a few years.
Absolutely. Well, Jamie, thanks so much for joining us. Gaz, pleasure having you back. And of course, you're going to be back with us very soon as well. Tell everyone about the wonderful podcast that you and Majestic host, Same Old Spurs Pod. I think you're going to have to change the name of it because, we're going places now. So it's not going to be the same old Spurs. It's going to be Super Spurs are going to Wembley and lifting trophies.
That's what I mean. So in a few years' time, be the same old Spurs because they get used to us winning things, Chris, each. Thinking, Chris. But yeah, look. Me and Madge, obviously, TalkSport host. He's everywhere. We've been doing a podcast for a few years now. It's really, really doing well. Really enjoy it. So, yeah, at Same Old Spurs pod across all the socials. So, yeah, give us a follow. Get involved.
Thank you, Gaz. Pleasure having you here again. Look forward to having you back on very soon. Andy, Jamie, Gaz, thanks so much for your time. Looking forward to the Manchester United game, obviously, on Sunday, where Spurs will hopefully pick up 3 points, climb up that Premier League table, and you never, ever know what's going to happen, says Paul Parker, former Manchester United player. We look forward to recording another Spurs Chat podcast on Sunday, straight after the Manchester United game. Look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And come on, you Spurs.
Go on,
Thanks,
Spurs.
man.